Greetings summoners and welcome back to Lots of Lore. Today I give to you Hecarim, the Shadow of War. Enjoy. Born into an empire long since gone to dust and forgotten, Hecarim was a lieutenant of the Iron Order, a brotherhood sworn to defend their king's land. As Hecarim won victory after victory from the back of his mighty warhorse, the commander of the Iron Order saw in him a potential successor, but also a growing darkness. His obsessive hunger for glory was eroding his honor, and over time, the Knight Commander came to realize this young lieutenant must never lead them. When he was told this, Hecarim was furious. Even so, he bit back his anger and continued his duties. When they next rode to war, the commander found himself surrounded by enemies and cut off from his fellow knights. Hecarim, seeing his chance, turned away and left him to die. At battle's end, the Iron Order, oblivious to what Hecarim had done, knelt on the bloody ground and swore allegiance to him. Hecarim rode to the capital to take his formal oath and met with Callista, the king's most trusted general. She recognized his prowess and leadership, and when the queen was wounded by an assassin's poisoned blade, Callista was comforted to know the Iron Order would remain with the king while she sought a cure. Gripped by paranoia and seeing new threats in every shadow, the king raged at those he believed were trying to separate him from his dying wife, and dispatched Hecarim to quell dissent throughout the kingdom. The Iron Order earned a dreadful reputation as ruthless enforcer of the king's will. Towns and villages burned, hundreds were put to the sword. With grim inevitability, the queen died. Hecarim chose to sour the king's grief into hatred, seeking sanction to lead the Iron Order into foreign lands. He would avenge her death while earning yet more dark renown for himself. But before they could ride out, Callista returned. She had found what she sought upon the distant Blessed Isles, and yet it was now too late. The king would not believe this and had Callista imprisoned as a traitor. Intrigued by what he had heard, Hecarim visited her cell, and they spoke of the pale mist that protected the island from all invaders, and also of the inhabited immense wealth, including the legendary Waters of Life. Knowing only Callista could lead them there, Hecarim eventually persuaded her to guide the king's fleet through the veil that concealed the Blessed Isles from mortal sight. They landed in the city of Helia, with the queen's body in solemn procession. The Iron Order led the way, only to be met by the city's masters, who now refused to help. Enraged, the king ordered Callista to kill them, but she refused, and Hecarim smiled as he made the decision that would damn him for eternity. He drove a spear through Callista's back and ordered his knights to ransack the city, looting its vaults of arcane treasures. Amid the chaos, a lowly custodian agreed the king access to the Waters of Life, but not even this could distance Hecarim from the revelry of bloodshed. And so it was, the ruination of the Blessed Isles would take him almost completely by surprise. A blast wave of magic tore across Helia, shattering every last building, leaving the fragments suspended in searing unlight. In its wake came the Black Mist, a billowing hurricane that dragged every living creature it touches into its shrieking, roiling embrace. Hecarim tried to rally the Iron Order, hoping to make it back to their ships, but the mist claimed them one by one as they fled. Alone and defiant to the end, the Knight Commander was taken by the shadows. He and his mighty steed were fused into a monstrosity, spectral abomination that reflected the darkness in Hecarim's heart. A brazen creature of fury and spite, at one with the Black Mist, and yet utterly enslaved by it. Bound forevermore to these Shadow Isles, Hecarim has spent centuries in a sinister mockery of his former life, cursed to patrol the nightmarish land he once intended to conquer. Whenever the Black Mist reaches out beyond their shores, he and his otherworldly host of the Iron Order rides out to slaughter the living in memories of glory long past. Short story. No one lives. Icy waves crashed on the bleak shore, red with the blood of the men Hecarim had already butchered. The mortals he had yet to kill were retreating over the beach in terror. Black rain doused them, and storm clouds boiled from the mourning heart of the island. He heard them shouting to one another. The words were a guttural battle chant he did not recognize, but the meaning was clear. They actually thought they might live to reach their ship. True, they had some skill. They moved as one, wooden shield interlocked, but they were mortal, and Hecarim savored the meat stink of their fear. He circled them, threatened crumbling ruins, and unseen in the shadows mist, racing from the ashen sand. The echo thundering from his hoof struck spike from black rocks. It gnawed at their courage. He watched the mortals through the slitted visor of his helm. The weak light of their wretched spirit was flickering corposant in their flesh. It repulsed him even as he craved it.
"No one lives,"
he said. His voice was muffled by the dread iron of his helm, like a corpse raps of a hanged man. The sound scraped along their nerves like rusted blades. He drank in their terror and grinned as one man threw down his shield and ran for the ship in desperation. He bellowed as he galloped from the weed-choked ruins, lowering his hooked glaive and feeling the old thrill of the charge. A memory flickered, riding at the head of a silver host, winning glory and honor. The memory faded as the man reaches the dark surf of cold breakers and looked over his shoulder. "Please, no!" he cried. Hecarim split him from collarbone to pelvis in one thunderous blow. His ebon blade gave pulse as it bathed in blood. The fragile wisp of the man's spirit sought to fly free, but the mist hunger would not be cheated. Hecarim watched as the soul was twisted into a dark reflection of the man's life. Hecarim drew the power of the island to him, and the bloody surf churned with motion as a dark host of night, wreathed in shimmering light, rose from the water. Sealed within archaic plates of ghostly iron, they drew black swords that glimmered with dark radiance. He should know these men. They have served him once and served him still, but he had no memory of them. He turned back towards the mortals on the beach. He parted the mist, reveling in their terror as they saw him clearly for the first time. His colossal form was a nightmarish hybrid of a man and horse, a chimeric juggernaut of braced iron. The plates of his body were dark and stamped with etching whose meaning he only vaguely recalled. Balefire, smouldering behind his visor, the spirit within cold and dead, yet hatefully vital. Hecarim reared, as forking traceries of lightning split the sky. He lowered his glaive and led his knights to the charge, throwing up giant clumps of blood-sodded sand and bone fragment as he went. The mortals screamed and brought up their shields, but the ghost knight's charge was unstoppable. Hecarim struck first, as was his right as the master, and a thunderous impact splintered the shield wall wide open. Men were trembled into bloody gruels beneath his iron-shod bulk. His glaive struck out left and right, killing with every strike. The ghost knights crushed all before them, slaughtering the living in a fury of thrashing hooves, stabbing lances and chopping blades. Bones cracked and blood sprayed as mortal spirits fled their broken bodies, already trapped between life and death by the fell magic of the ruined king. The spirits of the dead circled Hecarim, beholding him as their killer, and he reveled in the searching joy of battle. He ignored the wailing spirits. He had no interest in enslaving them, leave such petty cruelty to the Chain Warden. All Hecarim cared for was killing. And that, summoners, was Hecarim's bio and his short story, No One Lives. I guess you could say that Hecarim is the reason why the ruination even happened, because he was the one who convinced Callista to take them all to the Blessed Isles, and he's also the reason why Callista is the spirit of vengeance because of Hecarim's betrayal. I'm gonna work on getting all the Shadow Isles lore out, and of course when new lore is released, that's gonna be my main priority. So therefore, I think you should subscribe for more awesome lore in the future, and until next time, enjoy.